sports, a bridge that brings people together. And here in the Commonwealth, it's no different. From the gridiron to the hardwood and beyond, we all have a team we love to talk about. Now for the teams you care about, here's Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice.
And welcome back into Heartland Sports Live. Trevor Rice with you on another Monday. And, of course, the dead period is over now, and we are back into previewing 2019 football here in the high school football area here in Hardin County. And joining me this week is going to be the North Hardin Trojans. I have a couple of seniors in here with me. I have left tackle Dale Woods. I also have defensive tackle Octavius Oxendine in here as well as head football coach for the North Hardin Trojans, Brent Thompson. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here in the studio. And so far, it's been hot here this summer. How has things been going for you this summer as you get ready for this 2019 season? I'll let you go. Any order here?
It's been going good. The practices we had before dead period, I feel like we actually did pretty good, like the work we was putting in. So now we just want to come back after dead period and put in more work.
And how about yourself, Coach?
Oh, definitely, the young men have been putting in some work, and obviously, we're just coming back after the dead period and had our first practice back, and, having 70-plus players out there helps, and we look to have a great season.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what we're expecting here in this 2019 season. Now, you begin with things with Louisville Wagner, so you get right off the bat here with some tough competition. There's a lot of expectations for North Hardin this year, especially following up what you guys did last year, winning a district title, having a run in the playoffs as well. Talk about what you guys as seniors, I'll start with the players here, what your kind of expectations are going into this next season and what you expect, because obviously your team's going to be looking at you guys as leaders.
I feel like that comes with football, always being a leader, especially as a senior. But I feel like the season will be very good, building off last year, and hopefully we'll make a longer run than we did in the playoffs we did last year.
Yes, like he said, we want to make a bigger run. I mean, we did win district last year, which we didn't do in a long time, but we want to win state this year. That's our goal.
Coach, obviously, you know that you're going to have a lot of teams focusing on you in particular this year because they know that you're going to be one of the tougher opponents in the area. What's that like, knowing that these guys are that good and they can compete here for another strong season?
Kind of like I told them before we went on break. Last year we kind of got to be the hunter, and now this year you got the bullseye on your back, and we're going to be the hunted, and we got to play like it each game. We're going to get everybody's best, so we got to be ready to make sure that we're able to go every Friday night. Make sure that we don't, leave any stone unturned by to get there.
Let's go back to the players here. You guys, seniors, talk about what that's like going into your final season at North Hardin, and maybe talk about some of the things that you've accomplished that it mean a lot to you so far here in your high school tenure.
I feel like the district championship meant a lot to us because we always have this big thing about being historical and leaving a legacy. So we were building upon that, and we got the district last year, so we're building on that, and hopefully we get the region and so on. So we're trying to leave history in our school.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's kind of surreal because it's surreal. We was like freshmen, like just like that, and now we're seniors. So yeah, we just want to make this last year we have legendary. Talk
about being seniors and those younger guys. You mentioned the freshmen and sophomores are looking up to you guys for advice and such. I guess what is the one piece that you could tell them moving forward as you look to not only cement your legacy with the North Hardin football, but keep this process rolling for years to come?
Stay in the weight room. That's really where you gain and get better, staying in the weight room.
I say don't take anything for granted. Take every rep like it's your last rep. Work like it's your last time you're going to be out there working with coach and stuff, because time flies, and we're all trying to build up on the building blocks we said a long time ago. So you got to keep working to get it.
And Coach, you obviously selected these guys to come in here and talk with us as well. What do these two players mean to not only the football program, you as a coach, and this coaching staff in general, and for helping this program move forward?
It's kind of like what they said. Each year we try to build upon it. Build upon the program and lay the foundation. But also we want to make sure that we leave a legacy. These guys want. How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered by one district championship, or do we want to go get two? Or do we want to, like Dale said, our ultimate goal is to win the state championship. We want to continue to add more bricks to the foundation.
We have left tackle Dale Woods, defensive tackle Octavius Oxendine in here, as well as Brent Thompson, the head football coach for North Hardin, previewing their 2019 football season. Let's talk about the schedule, some of the teams in the area that you'll face. Central Hardin, Meade County, two teams, two rivals that you guys want to go out there and beat. What's it like out on the football field? I'll talk to the players here. What's it like facing those guys, knowing that you are playing for a district title and you're going to put it out all on the line?
I wouldn't say it's just like another game to us, but that's how we treat it as. We know we gotta go out there and win, but we practice off based off who we're going to play. So I feel like we come out there ready to go, and we go out there and do what we practice to do.
Mm-hmm. It's like another game. I mean, you can't downplay no team that you play. So you gotta go hard at every team you play. So yeah.
Be honest with me. Does the trash talk game go up more in those games, or does it stay about the same?
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I really don't. I don't be talking on the field, but you can tell there's a little bit more. There's a bigger chip on their shoulder when you're playing for something. So you can tell when you're playing somebody for a district championship. Like the energy in the crowd changes, the energy on the field changes, everything changes.
Coach Thompson, I know a lot of the area coaches. You're all friends. You all know one another, and you're always scheming to try to one-up each other. You know each other that well in this area. Talk about what that's like facing some of these area coaches and knowing that they know what you're going to present.
I mean, we have, you think about the area. You got Tim Manley that has had a great run at Central and continues. Last year they had some injuries. You got Larry Mofield, who obviously went to the state championship and went to the semi-state years ago. And then you got Mark Brown that's over at E-Town that has won a state championship and been, the success that E-Town's had, and, and John Hardin as well. But the one thing about it is that, we're going to get the best and we're going to give them our best, and the little wrinkles here and there that we can create is great. But anytime you can beat any of them men in a football game, you've got a quality win.
What is different about this year's roster compared to last, would you say, Coach?
These gentlemen right here are hungry. They have dedicated themselves in the off season. They do not take days off. They do not want days off. They are wanting more and more, and they want you to push them. They don't want to just win the district championship. Like I said, we have a goal, and it's a state championship, and we're going to try to do our best to get there.
You guys as players, what did that mean to you? Talk about that moment where you knew that you were the district champs last year. It hadn't been done in a long time. Talk about that feeling as players.
You can just see it on the coaches' faces, like how happy they were, because that's what we've been chasing for I don't know how long. So yeah, you can see the crowd, how happy they were, and it just brought us all together.
Yeah, it meant a lot to us as a school and a program. It was something we've been chasing for last 3 years. It was a big hump we had to get over to get to the next hump, which we're chasing. We were chasing a lot. So once we get over these next couple humps, hopefully we make it to the end.
You mentioned the fans there, Dale. I've noticed that about North Hardin. They are very supportive of their football program up there. They show up. They are loud and proud. Talk about that, all three of you, about what it means to legitimately have home field advantage when those guys show up.
It means a lot. A lot of them are people we know. Well, actually, a lot. We're not very big town, so we know basically all our fans. The crowd is amazing. We love their support. They always come out. Even rainy games, they'll be out there with tents and stuff. So it means a lot to us that they come and support.
What about you, Coach? I know you know a lot of the family, the friends that are showing up for these contests, and I know that it means a lot. How close of a community is Radcliffe?
Oh, it's very close. I mean, you can go to any other sport event around, like just the baseball event when they were playing in the region championship. I mean, we were packed, and, we had nowhere to sit. People are standing along the edges. You go to softball games, that's the one thing that this whole class that's coming up, they support each other. They support other sports. You went to a baseball or a basketball game this summer at the summer shootout, and there's 10 to 15 students in there watching them. The one thing they do, they support each other. They also support North Hardin High School, and our fans come out in droves even when we weren't winning 2 or 3 years ago, and they continue to come out. And like Octavia said, it didn't matter rain or shine. Last year I think it was 9 out of 11 games we had rain. They were still there, putting up tents, standing with umbrellas, making sure that they knew that the football team knew that they were supported.
One of the things that I've noticed about North Hardin going into this season, you have a lot of solid skill position players. Talk about what you expect offensively this year out of the Trojans, because you guys primarily have been a throwing team threat, but now you have a solid run game to kind of mix it in.
And Coach Hooper last year did a great job. He took over the offense and added that dynamic in there, and that's something that we definitely wanted to contribute and make sure that that was a key part. And coming back, the main skill person on offense that everybody's going to wonder about is who's going to be the quarterback. That's going to be a battle all the way up to the end, but we definitely have several key linemen returning. We turn every skill player. We have a lot of depth coming up, so it's definitely going to be exciting football on the offensive side. I know that the offensive coaches are going to do a great job and make sure that we mix it up, run and pass, so then no team can key on either side.
Defensive side of the ball, I noticed that you guys were much improved a year ago, and I can only expect that we're going to see a huge threat there, especially on the defensive line in particular, with you forcing some errors, hopefully, by opposing quarterbacks and trying to create turnovers and such. What do we expect on the defensive side of the ball this year?
We're going to build off what we did last year. Obviously, we had some success on that side of the ball, but we returned, I think, 7 or 8 players that have started or played a lot, and we're going to build off that. Whereas the year before, I think we had 2 players that might be in the same position. So it's definitely going to be able to add a little bit more to it on that side. We're definitely going to have to get after it. One thing that we are going to do is, our attitudes and our efforts are going to be over there. Make sure that we're hustling, because we have depth right there behind it, that if we can't get it done, then they can take a quick break and get the next guy in there to get it done for us.
You guys as players, obviously seniors, you have a lot of experience out on the field. Is that kind of added pressure knowing that you have so much experience coming back this year that it makes it that much more we need to get this done?
I feel like it doesn't add pressure on the defense side of the ball, because most of the times if coach needs us to go hard for 3 to 4 plays straight, if we don't get a 4 and out, if he needs to go 4 straight plays to go hard 110% the whole entire time, then we get that little 4 plays right there, then take a break, and we got our next buddy coming in that's just as good as us. So we feel like that gives us a good depth. So it's actually good for the defense side of the ball. On a defensive line standpoint, on other positions, I really can't tell you much, but I feel like depth gives us a little bit of advantage.
Yeah, on line we don't have as much depth as the D-line, but experience, it does play a big role, because you can teach the younger guys what you experienced in the game, so they can learn from what you did and learn from my mistakes. So yeah, experience, it plays a big role into it.
We have Dale Woods in here. We have Octavius Oxendine, both seniors going into the 2019 North Hardin football season. We have head coach Brent Thompson here on Heartland Sports Live. What would you say is the one thing, and I'll leave this for all of you to answer, is the one thing that maybe needs to be worked on most heading into this season, that maybe you haven't excelled in that area, but you would still like to see some improvement? I'll let you guys answer. Coach, if you want to start out.
Obviously, we always, when you come back off a dead period, we want to make sure that we're conditioned and ready to go. Also, we want to make sure that we take care of the injuries, that kind of thing there. Definitely, there's a definite question mark on the offensive side of the quarterback. We have some other key there, just adding some more depth there, but definitely I would say conditioning.
How about you guys? What do you think is the one thing that you need to improve on most going into this season?
Just getting the young guys ready for the season. Just building their experience, the knowledge up for the game. But yeah, other than that, I really nothing else.
What about you, Octavius?
I feel the same thing as Coach and Dale said. Conditioning, getting us back in shape. We're in shape as far as winter wise, but now it's time to get back conditioning and stuff like that. So we're working on conditioning and getting our younger guys ready to take over once we leave. So I feel like that's our 2 biggest points this year.
Talk about that, the process, because I mean, you start the football season, it's hot still, and you're going to need more liquids, more fluids to keep you going throughout the game. Talk about the process of what it's like getting ready for a game in the beginning, the first half of the season compared to the second half.
I feel like we first part of the season we're getting our feet wet, like we're trying to see what's going for us and what's not going for us. So conditioning wise, like some of the young guys might not know how fast a high school game actually goes. It's way different than middle school or anywhere else. So games be going fast, like 7-second plays and stuff like that. So when you're working, you might know how fast it is. So like their conditioning, they might feel like they can go a whole game in middle school, but high school they might get 3 plays and be wore out. So they're gonna see how it is. Everybody's getting their feet wet, and in the second half of the season, we should be rolling.
The high school conditioning, that's the hard part. The games, that's the easy part. That's where we really get our work. Like, I mean, that's where the hard work is. The conditioning in the summer. That's really when you work hard. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about speaking of conditioning. Let's talk about discipline now. And we've seen some area teams over the years. It seems like you get deeper into a season, maybe there's more pressure. Or maybe you would think the team would start to click at that point. Penalties, and I don't remember as many from you guys a year ago. To talk about that aspect of the game, Coach, as you look forward to. You want every play to go perfect. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Talk about that process and getting these guys ready in that aspect.
One thing our foundation of our program is discipline, and if it's a 15-yard penalty, you just cost us. So anytime that one of ours has one, they definitely have a punishment coming. They know that it's coming. But as far as the other ones, we have to. Mistakes happen, penalties get called, whether they're right or wrong. You can't can sit there and argue and complain about it. You got to play the next play. It's like I always tell our defense, just turn the page. Go to the next page. It's okay. That play's over. We got to play the next one. Because if you start worrying about what happened 2 or 3 plays ago, that's when you're not watching out what's going on, and they end up scoring on us.
We have Dale Woods, Octavius Oxendine, Brent Thompson here talking 2019 football for the North Hardin Trojans. And you guys, I would expect a solid season from you guys just because what you're returning this year, the expectations, you know what the feeling of winning is now from last year. Maybe some final thoughts here as you go into this 2019 season. Talk about maybe some individual expectations, maybe some goals that you're setting for yourselves and how you're going to get yourselves to where you need to be come week 1.
I'm just getting myself ready to do whatever it takes for on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball for my team to win a football game.
I'm just doing whatever I can to make sure I can come out and produce and be 100% and go as hard as I can for every play.
What about you, Coach? What are the things that you're fine-tuning? What do you need to do to have this team ready over the next month and a half?
It's kind of like what I think Octavia just mentioned is whatever it takes. Whatever you're asked to do is from the coaching staff, whether it be, be a backup or be on the special team or be the starter for this or to give us a look doing here. It doesn't matter. We want everybody to do whatever it takes to win the state title. We're not trying to, say, well, I'm worried about my playing time or I'm worried about this. The thing about these young men is they have bought into that, and we got to continue to fine tune that part. And then, like we said earlier, just fine tune the conditioning.
Well, I want to thank you guys for stopping in and previewing the 2019 season for North Hardin football. Once again, we have Dale Woods, Octavius Oxendine, and Brent Thompson in here talking about the 2019 football season. It's going to be fun to watch you guys. We're actually going to have you, I believe we're going to be calling the first game of your guys' regular season, which I think is a Saturday, right? That's a Saturday game at Fairdale?
Yes, sir.
Against Louisville Wagner, and that'll be here before you know it next month. And we're already talking football, folks, as we get ready for that. Thank you, gentlemen, for stopping by, and I appreciate it, and we look forward to watching you out on the field.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to North Hardin Football for stopping by the studio last week to talk to me, and we'll have more teams in the area here in Hardin County talking about their 2019 seasons as soon as next week. Once again, E-Town High will be joining me. Mark Brown and a couple of kids will come in this week, and we'll play that interview back for you next Monday on Heartland Sports Live. When I come back, though, let's talk NASCAR. Kentucky Speedway was jam-packed with action. Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series all this past weekend. We will talk about it coming up next. It's Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and ESPNKY.com. It's Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we're live streaming on ESPNKY.com. I want to thank North Hardin Football for stopping by the studio and talking to me in segment 1. Let's go ahead before we start talking NASCAR to tell you that this hour is brought to you by or powered by CC Power Sports, where you can get a new jet ski for an incredibly low season opening price. CC Power Sports, they're off exit 121 just south of the Snyder at Brooks Road off I-65. Well, NASCAR was at Kentucky Speedway, the Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and I did not see the Trucks and the Xfinity, but I could tell you that Cole Custer dominated the Xfinity race on Friday night, going on to win, and I believe that may have been his first win at Kentucky Speedway, if I remember right, even though when he, in his victory celebration, when he jumped down from the car, he kind of fell backwards on his butt. I don't know if that's the ultimate way you want to celebrate, but he won, so I think he'll take it regardless and forget that ever happened. Thursday night, the Trucks were in town, and, let's just say Tyler Ankrum won his first truck race in NASCAR Thursday night. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to Cole Custer on winning the Xfinity race on Friday night, and I don't know if they are doing the Trucks and Xfinity in the same weekend next year with the Cup Series, because I know that the Cup Series is looking to do the Brickyard one weekend, and then the next weekend Kentucky Speedway, or maybe it's Kentucky Speedway one weekend, then the Brickyard the next weekend. I can't remember how that's going to go, but I think that's going to impact how people go to the races. I think people are going to choose one or the other. And I think you kind of lose that split off there. Whereas if you had a little bit of separation in between the races before, you could have had some of those people maybe try to go to both races. But now I don't know if that's going to be the fact. In fact, I think it hurts Indianapolis even more. And they've already been struggling to get butts in seats up there at the Brickyard. And I have my reasons for that. We'll talk about that another day. Simply because, you can't see the entire track for one. And I think they didn't take out those stands in the infield. Just way too big of a track, and you can't see the entire thing because the stands kind of block your view from the other side. And it's just a flat track. I have my reasons for why that I think Indy struggles a little bit, but in Kentucky Speedway, you continue to see good crowds still because it's 1.5 miles and you're able to see the entire track. And the racing, man, what a finish Saturday night at the Cup race. And isn't it kind of a coincidental thing that the Monster Energy car wins the Monster Energy Cup Series race at Kentucky Speedway? First win for Chevy in the Cup Series Saturday night as Kurt Busch edged out Kyle Busch, the brothers going at it. And, man, what a heck of a race it was. And Rick Allen, just hearing the television broadcast during the race, was going absolutely nuts. And the crowd was on its feet watching that final lap because that was insanity. How those two didn't wreck each other is beyond me. Considering in past interviews, you've actually heard Kurt and Kyle say that they would be willing to wreck their own grandmother to win a race, let alone each other, which they almost did. Kyle Busch, if he would have pushed it a little bit more, probably could have wrecked Kurt. And then who knows? Who knows who could have won at that point? Just because you look at it, and if the Busch boys didn't win, well, the next one to win, the next one in line was third place. Eric Jones could have, which was a teammate of Kyle Busch's. So it was Kurt Busch edging out Kyle Busch in Saturday night's race, and it was a dang good one. But how did we get up to that point? Well, there was a caution with about 7 or 8 laps to go that happened. Bubba Wallace ended up blowing out I think it was a left rear or right rear tire, and ended up spinning off of turn 2. So that brought out the caution. And at that point, you could kind of feel, okay, this race is definitely going into overtime. It may have been like 5 or 6 laps to go just because I'm trying to think back to how all the circumstances happened. So yeah, it might have been 5 or 6 laps to go. Bubba Wallace blows a tire out. They have to slow the cars up, and Joey Logano before that had just passed Kyle Busch, and he was storming off to the win. There was nobody that was catching him. Kyle Busch was just left way back there. He was back a couple of seconds at that point when the caution came out. So Joey Logano, who probably isn't feeling that good today, knowing that he probably should have won at Kentucky Speedway if that caution didn't come out. Well, he didn't get a good restart to begin with as well, that last restart. So he's probably not feeling that great on this Monday. But it gave us one heck of a finish, which is what I'm thankful for. This is my third race. This was the second race that's actually finished in what NASCAR considers overtime with the extended laps there at the end. But it was Kurt Busch edging out Kyle Busch, and man, what a final lap, as it was Chevy's first victory at Kentucky Motor Speedway, which is weird because you've had drivers like Jimmy Johnson. Kevin Harvick was driving Chevy there for a bit when Kentucky got started. So, I mean, you've had some solid Chevy drivers in the lineup. You had Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart in the lineup as well at one point. So it's weird that Chevy is just now getting its first victory at Kentucky Motor Speedway. But, man, it was a heck of a weekend. In fact, I got to, once again, tour the garage area, and I don't hide the fact that I'm a Kevin Harvick fan, even though he did not do that great. I think he finished outside of the top 20 in this race. But even though he had a pretty strong start, he was running third there in the first segment of the race. Unfortunately, just unable to keep up with the track conditions or something, and just fell off from relevance. But outside of that, touring the garage area first thing on Saturday evening, or I guess it was Saturday afternoon, and just taking some pictures of all the different cars, which you can go to my social media pages at Radio Trevor Rice on Twitter, Trevor Rice on -air. You can like me on Facebook as well. I posted the pictures up on my social media pages. But touring the garage area, and then all of a sudden trying to get a picture. I had to take maybe a slight step inside the garage to try to get a picture of Brad Keselowski's car, because one of the toolboxes was kind of blocking my view. And I may have gotten a little too close to Kevin Harvick's car, that one of the crew members was like, whoa, back up. You can't go in that far. And at that point, I'm just thinking, man, if only you knew I am a Kevin Harvick fan, and I would not do anything to get him in trouble with NASCAR. But we left, we got our pictures, and everything was fine, except my driver didn't do that well. But it was one heck of a finish. Kurt Busch edging out Kyle Busch, and I would say that none of us were disappointed. Nobody. Media, the fans, we were all excited. It was one heck of a race. Larry McReynolds starting up the race. Gotta love Larry Mack. He brought the energy, telling the drivers to start their engines there at the beginning, and there was a couple of moments where the race was just kind of like dragging along just because the traffic got split apart. But I have to say that the sealer that they put up there in the top groove to try to create some extra passing, some extra racing there at Kentucky Speedway actually worked. I thought the racing, for the most part, for the lead on a couple of different occasions. At one point, Clint Boyer was leading, and then Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch were trying to run him down, and they were 3 wide for the lead at one point. So the fact that the racing was that close, they were able to make passes on each other, when necessarily you think of mile-and-a-half tracks, they're not able to make passes on each other just because of the way the air works, and it seems like the car that gets out front just runs away with it, which at times you kind of saw that in this, but at the same time, it wasn't always the case. Yes, he would just hang out in front, the leader would, but it wouldn't be by no more than, a half second to maybe a second. The second place car was just kind of there, just kind of waiting for the tires to run down, and then it could kind of make the move from that point forward. So you look at it from that standpoint, the racing actually has improved. Ever since they repaved it back in 2016, the racing seems to be getting better and better with each year that we see this pavement age, which is typically the case. It's what you like to see out of your racetracks if you are a track owner. But you're starting to see the better racing at these tracks the longer the green flag runs. And even though there, like I said, there were some moments where it seemed like the race was just kind of dragging along, I think that's just a product of, you're doing 267 laps at a 1.5-mile track. So the laps just kind of seem like they're taking forever. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was the fact that there was only 36 cars in the Cup race Saturday night. Before, if you followed the Cup Series at all, there was 43 back in the early 2000s, and they kind of trimmed that down to 40. And now, that can only fill 36 cars there at Kentucky Speedway. And it's not like it's that long of a trip from Charlotte to Kentucky Speedway compared to other tracks in the country for the Cup Series. So the fact that there was only 36 cars is kind of baffling to me, because you would think if you're one of the other cars, you show up to the race, you're at least guaranteed a check, because you don't have to worry about not qualifying for the race at that point. The truck series used to have 36 slots. Now I don't even know if they can get 30 trucks in a race now. Just because I think of the way sponsorship money's going now, the way the economy's kind of working, I think it's just way too expensive for some of these sponsors to try to field a vehicle in the way that NASCAR has been working. Because, you can't hide the fact that there has been a underwhelming showing of fan support for the sport, and I strongly feel it's because of the youth movement. The fact that these younger guys don't have an established fan base, and you had a bunch of those veteran drivers like Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who was the most popular driver for like 17 straight years, 16, 17 straight years, however many years it was. The fact that you've had those guys retire over the last several seasons, and then Carl Edwards steps away. And I think here in the near future, you gotta presume here, Jimmy Johnson, he's not getting any younger. He's in his 40s. Kevin Harvick's in his 40s. Those guys will be retiring here soon. Matt Kenseth is no longer in a ride, so you're starting to see some of those veteran drivers who were coming up in the late 90s, early 2000s start to one by one retire, and that's what I think is maybe hurting NASCAR just a little bit, just because they had an established fan base, and now, you look at some of the top guys, you think of the Busch boys, you have Kurt and Kyle, who have each won a championship. Joey Logano technically is a top guy, but I don't know if he necessarily even has a fan base, just because just a few years ago he was not very well liked. So I don't know how that's going. Brad Keselowski, another driver you could maybe put up there. Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick. But there's a lot of young guys right now who maybe have won a race, but they haven't consistently done it that you can, say that, this is going to be a star of the future necessarily. Just because I don't know if it's they don't have the track time compared to some of these veteran drivers, or it's just B, if maybe they were rushed into the Cup Series. And I don't know. I just feel like the youth movement trying to bring in such a big population of younger drivers into the sport all at one time over the last couple of years, I think has really hurt the sport. And I hate to say that, because it's a sport that I've enjoyed for basically 2 decades now. And for that fact, I can only hope that, we'll start to see more enthusiasm. If we get more finishes and more races like what Kentucky Speedway offered this past weekend, I think there will be no problem in NASCAR maybe getting back. I'm not going to say it's going to get back to where it was because that's just unrealistic, but build its foundation, build its partnerships, build its supporters, fan support, and get that going once again. And I think some of these tracks may need to look at maybe trimming some of the seating, because I think it is unrealistic to expect that in 2019, where you have all sports right now struggling to fill their stadiums and where their full capacities. Unless you're an Alabama football, a Nebraska football, or somebody like Michigan or somebody Ohio State, who consistently has sellouts. Notre Dame also. So Notre Dame has the second longest sellout streak right now behind Nebraska. So you look at teams like that, unless you're that and what they're able to bring, I honestly don't know why some of these facilities don't look to try to reduce some of their seating so that they can look like they're putting more butts in seats and starting to sell out these venues, because it just looks bad for television. Some of these racetracks that they're showing in the Brickyard later this year, when they go up to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's going to look awful. They can seat like 300,000 people or however many up there at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which they used to get just about that at the track, having people pretty much in all the stands around the entire track. But now, looking at Indianapolis Motor Speedway when NASCAR goes there, I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if they're getting 25,000 people at that track. And I gave my reasons for it. Not being able to see the entire track is one issue that I have with it. And another, I don't think the racing's as good. The track is just too flat. And so because of that, NASCAR has to do something to make it more entertaining for fans. And I'm not going to throw this in there as a reason why Indy struggles, maybe just a little bit. But, back many years ago, maybe a decade ago, they had that tire disaster happen where they could only run like 10 or 11 laps before they had to change tires. They just had tires blowing out all over the place. I think that's kind of where the trend of Indianapolis wasn't necessarily one of the top places to go kind of started to fall a little bit. Because it used to be Daytona, Indianapolis, Charlotte was another big one that you wanted to win the Coca-Cola 600, and I think there was one more. I can't remember if the Pepsi 400 from Daytona was in there as well, but there was like the four big races you wanted to win, and the Brickyard was one of them because of all the history that the Brickyard has. But I just think that it's not quite up there as what Kentucky Speedway is offering right now. I think Kentucky Speedway and what they've been able to do, that they just celebrated their 20th season. This is their 20th year of being in existence. I think you just have to tip the cap to what Kentucky Speedway is right now to keeping the dream alive up there at KY Speedway. Well, when we come back, let's talk about the Reds for a moment and wrap up today's show. It's Heartland Sports Live. You're listening to 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we're live streaming on ESPNKY.com. It's Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we're live streaming on ESPNKY.com. Go back and check out every show. I have a download link on my Twitter page at Radio Trevor Rice, so you can go back and listen to every show. Maybe there was an interview you missed, like North Hardin, who joined me in segment 1, North Hardin football, previewing their 2019 season this hour. I want to thank them for joining me in studio. And we talked NASCAR last segment and Kentucky Speedway. Lots of great action over the weekend. Let's go ahead and talk Reds here. As that, by the way, that link is on my Twitter account at Radio Trevor Rice. Once again, if you want to go download any show and listen to us. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the Reds. Cincinnati Reds are back in action. Of course, last week was the All-Star break and some time off for the guys as they get set for their 3-game series with the Rockies this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it wasn't an easy go. Close games all around except Saturday when the Reds ended up blowing out the Rockies. But Friday was a 3-2 loss for the Cincinnati Redlegs as they lose in a tight one there. Starting pitching looked good there. Reds won 17-9. Yes, you heard me right. 17-9. That's a football score. Saturday against the Rockies, and then could not win the series yesterday. They ended up falling just short, losing 10-9 to the Rockies in Game 3, so they ended up losing. And just looking at the National League Central standings now, I can pull those up real quick. Just looking at the National League Central standings, they are now 6.5 games back after dropping a couple over the weekend, whereas they were, I think, 4.5 back before the All-Star break. The Cubs are in first place with a 50-43 record. The Brewers are 2.5 games back at 48-46. The Cardinals are in third place right now, middle of the pack, 46-45 overall, 3 games back, just a half game behind the Brewers. The Pirates are 5.5 games back with an overall record of 44-48. And then you have the Reds bringing up the rear, 42-48, just 6.5 games back. Still plenty of time to get something done, but they've got to put a winning streak together sooner or later, because if they don't, it could be gloom and doom for this Redlegs team, and there's going to be a lot of questions going into the offseason. Do they try to keep Yasiel Puig? Do they sell him, try to get some names for some guys who are going to help out the roster? I don't know what exactly this team looks to do. I hope they keep it intact, though, because I feel like this team can possibly make some noise in the National League Central if they can start to build some consistency. That's the biggest thing. Their starting pitching has been relatively good this season. It's just that inconsistent offense that we've seen, even though they put up a plethora of runs Saturday and yesterday, between both days, putting up, 26 runs between Saturday and Sunday. So, I mean, the offense has been there. It's just the starting pitching then kind of just faded Saturday and Sunday just a little bit. And so the Rockies were able to score some runs and pull off a win yesterday in a tight 10-9. Let's go ahead and look at the Redlegs schedule going into this week, though. They'll play this evening an 8:05 game against the Cubs. They'll start up a 3-game series with the Cubs as they are in National League Central play this week. Then they'll play at 8:05 tomorrow night, and they'll finish off their 3-game series in Chicago on Wednesday with a 2:20 afternoon game. Then they'll pick up a 4-game series with the Cardinals at home this weekend, back at home finally, as they play at 7:10 on Thursday. They'll play 7:10 on Friday, 7:10 on Saturday, and they'll play at 1:10 on Sunday this weekend. So the Cubs and Cardinals on the schedule for the Redlegs this week before going on the road and playing the Brewers. Yeah, so we're going to have 10 games here all in a row where the Reds are in National League Central play. So they can make up some ground over these next 3 series, and I really feel like that they can. They've competed really well against National League Central foes. And if you're going to make up some ground on these teams, this is the time to do it now over these next 10 games. You have to win at least 70% of them, I think, if you want to see yourself crawl back into this thing. And maybe sweep the Cubs. If you're a Reds fan, you'd love to see that, right? I mean, they are first place in the National League Central, so you'd kind of like to see your team in Chicago maybe pull off some upsets over the next few days, So next 10 games, taking out National League Central foes. They'll play the Brewers on next Monday, the 22nd. Then they'll play the Brewers next Tuesday and next Wednesday as well. So we'll see what they do over these next 10 games and see if this team can get back near not only the 500 mark, but to see if they can claw their way up to the middle part of the standings, hopefully, over these next several games, as they have a chance to do so, playing the Cubs and the Cardinals. They'll play the first, second, and third best teams in the league. So you kind of have to. And if you're a Reds fan, you're knocking on wood that it happens. Trevor Rice with you on Heartland Sports Live. We are 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we live stream every show on ESPNKY.com. I'll have the show uploaded tomorrow in case there was something you missed. We had North Hardin football in segment 1 talking about their 2019 season. I will have E-Town High School in the studio this week, and we'll play that interview back for you on Monday with, I don't know which players Mark Brown intends to bring in. I'll have to text him to see who he plans on bringing in, but we'll have Mark Brown and crew in the studio this week and talk about Elizabethtown 2019 football here coming next Monday. And you just never know what else we may have in store. Talked NASCAR last segment, Reds this segment. The summer is, we're starting to get closer and closer to college football season. College football is my number one sport. Just throwing that out there. I'm telling you right now, there's just nothing that beats college football, especially here in the state of Kentucky. Just the South in general. Just the South in general. You just can't beat college football. Just the atmosphere and what you expect on game days, just can't beat it. And we're getting ready to talk about it more and more. Of course, though, the NFL season is going to be here before you know it as well. We already begin preseason play next month. So hopefully I can get Mike Keith on the program here in the coming weeks, and we'll talk to him. Plus, don't you forget that you need to mark on your calendar, Kentucky Sports Radio is going to be in Elizabethtown at Kentucky Jeep and Truck. So Kentucky Sports Radio will be at Kentucky Jeep and Truck Monday, August 12th, and we will be out there as well to join the guys. So definitely make sure you're showing up for that, because we want to see you out there. We want to pack the house. We want this to be one of the biggest, most memorable moments in KSR history. We want you to be out there and having a good time, and I feel like us here in Hardin County, we can pull that off. We can definitely pull that off. Well, let's get everybody to show up for a couple of hours. Monday, August 12th, 10 until noon. Kentucky Sports Radio, which you can hear right here every Monday through Friday on 106.1 ESPN Radio and 1400 AM. That'll do it for me, though. I'll be back next Monday. We'll have Elizabethtown High and talking about their 2019 football season. Have a fantastic sports week, and stay cool, my friends.